All right, welcome everybody to our men's mastermind group that tonight includes women and people who aren't in the group. Sort of an open house space. So I'm just gonna share with you a little bit about what we've been doing and why we've been doing it. And then we'll kind of go through our typical format. We'll have a space for check-ins and actually it will be not quite the same format. So the normal format is we go through our check-ins, then we go through the intentions from last week and we kind of check in if those intentions have been accomplished or not accomplished. What happened, what didn't happen with the intentions from the previous week. And then we have a space, open forum space where we kind of anything that's challenging, anything that's confusing, anything we want reflection on, anything we want to get feedback on. It can be really kind of deep, uh, anything from deep spiritual questions to very practical questions like, what's this website or what's this book or, so anything in the range in between, but anything that helps you to get to where you're called to go. And that's kind of the beauty of a mastermind space is like, I'm only one person, so I can only read so many things and explore so many things and research so many things. But if you have six, seven, other people that are unified and together, the idea is like you're kind of coming together as a unified field of consciousness. And so you're kind of on the same team, you're rooting for each other, you're wanting to support each other, you're wanting to see the best in each other. And we're really blessed to have kind of created that culture together, I feel like. And I'm really like, happy about that and proud about that. And really, hey, by the way, where's Ryan at? Somebody text him and tell him that we're getting going here. Um, yeah, I'm really inspired by that because we really have that kind of synergy in the space, and there's a space of just mutual support and wanting to see the best in each other. And there's really been a lot of really powerful transformations in the space that, kind of inspire you to witness. So then it makes you want to, it's kind of like competition in the best sense. Like it inspires you to want to step up in your life and, be the best man and, be the best version of yourself, be the best man, be the highest version expression of yourself that you can. So we go through 10 different areas. And this is the same 10 areas I go through in personal coaching. So some of you in here I know are familiar with them, but many are not. So the 10 different areas, I'll actually put them down in the chat for those of you who are here live. So 10 different areas, and these are the areas that basically cover the 10 key areas of your life. So physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationship, community, family, work or purpose, financial, and home. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10. I think that's 10. So those are the 10 areas, and we look at those 10 areas, and the question is, if anything's possible, what do you call to create in these 10 areas? If anything's possible, what do you call it to create? Now, the first part of that question is the hardest part. If anything is possible, how do you get to a space where anything is possible? Right. So it's like it's not a simple question. So I'll often advise people just to take time to go into meditation, go into prayer, go into nature. And it's not a question that usually can answer right away. It might take days, it might take weeks to really go deeper to if anything is possible, what do you call it to create? Kind of like one way to explain it would be like when you were a child, and you thought that you could fly and you thought that you could, build castles and, from that consciousness, what do you call it to create in your life, right? Kind of from that space of infinite possibility. And I'm aware of the limitations. I'm aware of the challenges in those visions and in those dreams. So we're not ignoring that. We're just not starting off with that, if that makes sense. That, as I say, the how comes second. So we're not starting off at that point, but we'll address those things later and we'll help each other to move through those things as they arise. So if anything's possible, what do you call it to create in these 10 areas? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, relationship, community, family, work, purpose, financial, and home. And these areas are interconnected. So making any one area stronger makes any other area stronger. Vice versa, making any area weaker makes all the other areas weaker. So it's really fun when we get into it, and you start to see it's almost like an interconnected web, and you see how pulling on one affects all the others, and pulling on this one affects all the others. So we're really working with the whole person, and really called to just be the best version of ourselves, the highest and best versions of ourselves, and we really feel like there's no limit, and that's sort of the fun of life, right? Like you can just keep going and going and going and expanding and expanding, expanding, and we look at the challenges that we face as opportunities. I think that's really a key thing. So when we face a challenge, it's an opportunity to grow, to evolve, to awaken in our consciousness, to learn, to deepen together. And I think that approach has really created, really profound transformations with the guys in the group, which, you'll hear from them shortly. Um, One of the things we talked about last week well, there's two things we talked about last week. There's kind of I just alluded on part of it. Part of it was like embracing difficulty. So there's this kind of this idea, in our culture right now, in our collective, that like life shouldn't be difficult. This is a very new idea. Like I don't know of any other generation before that thought this was the way life was supposed to be, right? So this is kind of a new idea that life shouldn't be difficult. And if it is difficult, there's sort of, maybe there's a little bit of whining and so forth. Why is it so, why is it difficult? So it's like, no, the difficulty is actually we want, as men, we want difficulty because difficulty and challenge is what allows us to grow as men. If we don't have difficulty and challenge, like there's a sort of like this fantasy some people have of like, oh, I wish I could just lay on the couch all day and watch TV and I'd be so happy. It's like, no, you wouldn't be happy. You'd really actually be pretty depressed, and pretty miserable and pretty unhappy. You might be happy for like 2 or 3 days if you're feeling really overwhelmed and stressed and you've been working really hard, need a break. But we're designed as men to face challenges and then face difficulty, and we actually feel good when we're actually facing those things. And we feel bad when we're not facing those things. We feel bad when we're trying to avoid those things. And so, what are the ways that you avoid those things? Well, it could be drugs, it could be alcohol, it could be porn, it could be TV, it could be any number of things, right? Those are just a few examples, right? So you start to notice it's like, oh, I'm actually using this to avoid facing this deeper thing in myself, right? And um, the journey is a journey of becoming going from unconscious to conscious, going from unaware to aware. So becoming a self-aware human being is becoming an empowered human being, is becoming an optimal human being, is someone who's stepping into the fullness of yourself. You kind of realizing and remembering why you're really here, and having the space to step into that space. So that was one thing, was embracing difficulty. And the other thing was being of service, being of service to others. And that's something that I was kind of reflecting on. I was like, it's easy to lose sight on that because we're doing this work on ourselves, and it can seem like it's just selfish, like it's just for ourselves. But actually, it's just the opposite. It's the whole point is so we can be of greater. The point is love, really. The point of this world is love. The point of being a human being is love, right? So the point is to be of greater service to the world. And so if you're in greater health physically, then you can be of greater service to the world. If your mind is sharper mentally, if you're more grounded and emotionally intelligent, if you have a strong, loving relationship, if you have a strong sense of community, if you have a sense of um, connection and appreciation and gratitude with your family, if you're doing work that is meaningful to you, that you love, and that is making a positive difference in the world, if you feel abundant and you feel a lack of anxiety or stress financially, and if you love where you live, then all of this helps you to like be available to be of service to the world. And I think that's sort of like the full picture. I think of that movie a lot of times, The Lion King, where he goes out and he's like, to kind of simplify the story, I think probably most people have seen it, but he's kind of trying to find some kind of happiness or some kind of joy in his life, right? And so he leaves home and he finds that for himself, But then like the full circle, the circle of life is he's like, oh, I got to bring it back to the people. I got to bring it back to my people, to my community. I got to share it with them. It's not enough if it's just for me. Right. So I think that's our cycle of life, and several of the guys here are already starting to do that. They've made transformations and they're starting to share with other people like, hey, I was where you were, whether it's alcohol or drugs or things like this. I was where you once were, and I understand it and I have empathy and I get it because I've been there and I can help you to get where I'm at because I was once there, right? And I think that's like the full circle of of life. So those were the kind of two things we talked about last week was service and embracing high levels of difficulty. And then I was like, well, what's this tonight? This is a higher level of difficulty because we got a lot more people here, people that some people don't know, right? And it's service because we're being of service to others and we're helping people that aren't usually privy to what we're doing. There's so many times where we're in this space and I think the guys would agree where it's like wow, this conversation we're having or the things that we're uncovering here are just, man, if people could hear this, if this could be recorded and people could like learn about this stuff, they would benefit so many people. So this is kind of like that moment where we're having that space to kind of share this incredible dialogue we often have um, about things we're looking at and we're inquiring into. I will say, just to be transparent, that I think when you're in a private space, there's a level of vulnerability that we probably won't get to tonight. When you're in a private space, some things are shared that aren't shared in a public space. So I just wanted to acknowledge that um, and know that if you are in the private space with us, there's the level of vulnerability that we'll go into because there's a kind of a deep trust and understanding we have with each other in the space together. So yeah, and then we have this, and then so we have once we have the vision or the goals of what do we want to create in these areas of our life, then it's like, okay, well then what's your intention for this week, right? You want to lose 20 pounds in a year? What are you going to do this week? You want to find a wife and you want to get married? What are you going to do this week, right? You want to get closer to God, have a deeper spiritual connection. What are you going to do this week? Right? It's like we make things complicated sometimes, but if you think of it this way, it's like there's actually 24 hours in a day. Everybody's got 24 hours in a day, right? And really, to me, and I'll think this for myself a lot of times, I'm like, well, what am I doing with this time? You know, am I doing something right now to further my goals, what I'm called to create in my life, or am I doing something that's counterproductive? And there is really that's really the only question. So that will answer your question that if you're manifesting the things that you're called to manifest in your life or not, right? That's really the key question. Ryan's here. Great. So yeah, I think I'll just move into what we usually do, which is we do a little check-in and people say how they're feeling. And so we'll do a little check-in and then we'll kind of have a chance for people to share how this group has been transformational in their life and what they've gotten out of the space thus far. And then we'll have a space for open forum. And then if you guys have any questions, we'll have space for that. And then we'll close it out. So we'll start off with Jacob. I'll just give a little shout out to Jacob. He's been a rock in this group for this is my 20th season facilitating the group. And he's been in, is it 19 of the 20?
Yep.
He's been
Yep,
in
I missed
19 of the
one.
20, and he's really become an inspiration to a lot of people and the transformations and changes that he's made in his life. So you'll hear a little bit about that in a little bit. But how are you feeling, Jacob? Are you glad to be here?
Thanks, Brian. Extremely glad to be here. Um, I'm feeling really amazing. Other than my lower neck, like upper shoulders, I slept wrong or something last night, and for the first time in months, I'm having some like upper back, lower neck pains. Um, but overall, I'm feeling great, and I'm grateful for how long I've been without any pains. I'm nearly 40 years old and I feel better than I've ever felt in my life. And it's because of, these things that I do to take care of myself, much of which I've realized through the mastermind. Um, just got out of a 150-degree infrared sauna, and I've had a really good complete work day. And I'm very excited and happy to see all these faces on here, all these new faces. It's not just the same old dudes. So very excited to be here and talk about what we're doing.
Yeah. I want to give a special shout out to Jeff Thogmartin, who's not with us tonight. He left us a text message earlier today that he's sick and actually getting an IV right now. So we're sending love and prayers to him. We do have his father substituting, so we might check in with him a little bit and for a question I have later on. But I just wanted to acknowledge him. He's been a core part of our group and he's not able to join us tonight. So let's go to Avery.
Yeah, in the moment, I'm feeling really good. Just got back from a really fun, relatively intense bike ride with my family. Just like pushed it hard up some hills and got a lot done today around the house and just like feeling better and more grounded into where I am.
Sweet. Okay. Gio's on the road. My son Gio's in the group and he's traveling to the beach, actually. The Jersey Shore. You able to give a check-in, Gio?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, just driving right now to the shore. Um, yeah, everything's going pretty well. Had a productive workday as well, and I just headed out right after that. Just excited to spend time with family this weekend. Excited to be in this group as well, to be present.
Sweet. Thank you, Gio. Let's go to James.
Hey. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good today also. Yeah, I've just been spending the whole day learning how to breathe in uncomfortable feelings that come up, and that's been quite a challenge today. And I love that this is happening because I get very uncomfortable around a lot of people I don't know and new faces and all that. So I've just been breathing in. It's like, oh, this is perfect opportunity. So yeah, it's really grateful for this happening. So and yeah, just taking a whole rest day, the rest week from working out and just did stretches and block therapy and stuff like that. So otherwise yeah, taking care of myself a different way as a
Love that.
complete.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Mhm.
Ryan.
Hey guys, good to be here with you all. Feel a little exhausted in the moment. I've been having some long training days at work with a lot of driving and stuff, so I've been not sleeping as much as I'd like to, and but getting some good hours at work. It's kind of accumulated into today. I'm pretty exhausted. All in all, though, I think pretty good. I like being able to get hours at work and get some overtime, so it's a positive, but it's a little bit of a burden in the short term.
Thanks for sharing,
Leave it at
Ryan.
that.
Thanks for being
Yeah.
here. And okay, so now we're going to go to a question. So we usually at the end of the season we have a space of reflection. We also have a space of reflection to just kind of reflect on, what's transpired, what we've learned, what kind of positive transformations has happened. But I'm just going to ask it in a more general way. So basically the question is, how has being in the mastermind group transformed your life in a positive way? How has being in the mastermind group transformed your life in a positive way? And we will start with you, Jacob.
Okay. Well, my first mastermind was January of 2020, and I was on 160 milligrams of methadone, totally lost and stuck in addiction, a decades long addiction to opiates. And I was really sick, and I was really depressed, and I was really poor in every aspect of the word. Every aspect of my life was just suffering and struggling. And my number one intention coming into the mastermind was to become dependent free and become free, which the more and more that I kind of evolve and awaken into my spirituality and who I am, that is my ultimate goal here on earth is to become free. Um, Free from anything that holds me down or holds me back and just be open and available for God, creator, to move through me. And that's been my prayer for years now, is just to be open and available and surrender Jacob, this version of Jacob that has been created by my parents and where I was born and school I went to and the religion I was raised, born into and raised in, and that I may just be open to the truth. And um, that prayer has led me on an amazing journey of transformation, the mastermind. One of the biggest things is sharing intentions for the week. So, and also realizing that anything is possible. Like we're on a computer here, human bodies, eating, breathing, sleeping, dancing, hugging each other. There's planets. Many of you guys have heard me say this before. We're on a big planet, a big rock, like spinning 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting a star. I don't know. I can't really comprehend that. I don't know if you guys can. I mean, I know science, has it pegged and all that, but like, and we're in a universe full of this going on, all synchronized and all dancing, doing this dance together. And like, we're here breathing in oxygen and our lungs and blood, transfer that to our every cell in our body. So if that's possible, there's nothing my mind could think of that wouldn't be possible. So that's like the first place to start is if anything's possible. Um, and then my goal was to become dependent free. So like I think the second meeting, second mastermind meeting in, Brian's like, okay, so how are you gonna get there? And I was like, well, I guess I'll drop 5 milligrams. And this is something that I had tried to do before and really struggled with and had to go back up. And um, anyways, I hit this place where I just started building momentum and started dropping my dosage of the methadone and started feeling clarity within myself. I could feel again. I could think. I could see clearly, and I started craving that. So I blasted through this in like 10 months down to zero, and then really struggled horribly through withdrawals. Really intense for months, and then subtly they lasted for over a year, like a year and a half, and conquering that was huge, and it's something that I've never looked back on. Like I know I have family members that have talked to me years after I came to zero, and um, they're like, I'm it's a struggle for you. I'm so proud of you. I'm sure it's a struggle every day, and this and that. And I'm like, no, like actually, there's no way. Like I suffered long enough. I learned all I needed to learn there, and I'm having the most amazing life here that I could have ever imagined. And there's no desire. The only desire within me is to continue facing these challenges and overcoming these challenges with like force, with strength and force and determination and confidence and the support of my good brothers. That's one of the main reasons um, I've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years, 19 seasons, is because, like Brian mentioned earlier, the conscious that we create together, this one consciousness that we create together, we feed off of each other. Um, Journeys that I go through, I share in here, and then the other guys are able to pick up on that and perhaps not have to go down the same struggle or not have to deal with the same thing or, learn how to deal with it if they're going through it. And so I've experienced that from these guys and they've experienced that from me. So it's like a beautiful sharing of wisdom and experience and growing together. And, not only did I transform and become dependent free, my relationship with Haley, she's here. We've been together for nearly 13 years and we've had ups and downs and have just like really come into this place where I think we can both see now, like we've been separated. And I even stayed in Brian's apartment in Asheville one time while they were out of town, like moved out and, um, huge transformations. And now we're able to see like the purpose of it all, the reason of it all. We went into this addiction together back in 2013 and went through it, destroyed our lives and bodies and families and friends, and then came out of it. And it's like very, very clear why we've made it here. And the timing of my whole journey has just been so divine, and which is something I share a lot of gratitude. I have a lot of gratitude for. Um, that I'm waking up and discovering all these expansions within myself and within God and my creator and I'm prepared for it. I've been through the suffering and all the experiences and um, I have a really good business. Like my business is thriving. I went from maybe making $12,000 a year to making many months double and triple that in a month. So it's just phenomenal. I mean, there's no limits, and I'm so excited about like the next 20 seasons of the men's mastermind. Like, wow, if anything's possible.
Let me
At
just
this
share
rate,
a couple of things you're doing now. So you kind of shared where you started out with, was just in drug addiction, and um, yeah, you didn't have any money. You were really poor health too. You would get sick very frequently, like maybe like every couple weeks.
oh, it's every day. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that I noticed probably even more. Yeah. So yeah, so from there, now you're leading guided meditations online and actually when with live groups on stages,
Yeah.
you and Jeff, and
Yep.
you're doing life coaching sessions with some people, and you led your first breath work this few days ago.
Yeah.
So so yeah, Jacob and Jeff are in a training that I'm leading them in, and Jacob's really been yeah, where he started out to where he's at now is pretty amazing, and he's just an inspiration for a lot of people. So we're grateful to have him in this group. Thanks, Jacob,
Yep.
for sharing.
Glad to be here.
Let's go to Avery next. And one thing I know that I always think when I think about Avery is when uh, when he first was in here, he was in Indianapolis, in the big city, and he had this dream of living in rural life and having this place down in southern Indiana on this rural land. And he told me like, yeah, I think maybe in like 10 years I can like make that happen. And he made it happen in like what, less than 10 months or something
Something
like
like
that.
that.
Yeah.
Within 2 seasons of a mastermind, maybe three. I'm not sure where I'm at yet. I don't know my body count on the mastermind. I need to go back and look.
It was definitely way quicker than 10 years, that's for sure.
For sure. I was gonna say like that's the most like biggest like physical transformation that happened is like this dream that I had that I've had for a long time to live on I'm living on family land now. It's like 90 acres in the Hoosier National Forest in southern Indiana. Um, so I'm living in the house like my grandmother was born in. It was my great grandparents' homestead, and like no one else wanted it in the family. And I just didn't think that we could do it. I mean, I didn't. I guess I didn't believe that it was possible. Like in that time period, I don't know. Like there was like a little bit of a block in in between like what I thought I could make happen, and then obviously what we did make happen. Moved down here real fast. And I think the mastermind was a big part of that. Just like throwing that out there and then just being questioned, like, well, why? Why would you wait 10 years? like what's holding you back from doing it now? Um, so I would say that just combined with the weekly accountability of having to put my intentions out there, like, well, this is what I'm gonna do. And the thing is, there's no other space in my life other than maybe my beautiful wife here that I can say, like, I'm gonna do something. And, there's no one else that's calling me on that. Like, if I don't do it, except I didn't really get to the point where I want the mastermind, like you guys, to call me on it. Cause, like, I don't want to, it's almost like I don't want to let the brothers down. Like, I said, I'm going to do this. Like, and this is the conscious field that we're creating, is that, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. Or if, you've had the same intention riding out on your list for weeks or months, get ready to get called on that. Well, why didn't you do that? Like, what's holding you up on that? So I think
I'd
that's,
love to speak to that for a second. First off, I want to acknowledge the mastermind legend, Jason Martini, that just joined us. Great to have you here, Jason.
Thanks, Brian. Good to be.
And yeah, Jason's been with us for a while as well. Um, yeah, I remember someone asking me about this. They're like, if someone sets an intention and they don't do it, do you punish them? And I'm like, first off, I don't want to punish anybody. And second off, no, because it's not necessary. Because when there's such like care in the group, it's exactly what Avery said. It's like if you're, it's kind of like if you're not living up to your highest and best, then you're letting everybody else in the group down because then you're not giving them uh, a level to strive for. Does that make sense, everybody? So it's kind of when there's that care in the group and everybody cares about each other, it's like I want to do what I say I'm going to do because if I don't do it, then that makes the other guys think that they don't have to do it. And then if I show up late, that makes them think they can show up late, and then the whole thing just starts deteriorating. So we've this past season we've had just like amazing, almost perfect attendance unless something, somebody's sick or something like that. But as far as like being able to be here, almost perfect attendance, everybody coming up on time, everybody hitting their intentions at a really high clip, and just this really great level of movement and transformation happening. It's not, as the saying goes, and that's not rocket science actually. It's kind of simple actually. And it's a formula that works. So I just wanted to amplify on that part, Avery.
yeah, for sure. I think I was pretty much complete with that, but I mean, like, even just taking something as monumental for my family as like relocating. I've got kids in middle school and high school now, so this is like a big move. Moving from like living downtown, like we could see the skyscrapers from our backyard, to this totally rural thing was really like a bite at a time. Like the intentions weren't like move your family. The intentions were like meet with a septic contractor,
Yeah.
meet with the electrician. Like, what are you
Yeah.
doing this week? Like, go to meet the surveyor, go to the recorder's office. Like, a bunch of little tiny bites. And like, if you look at my intentions from the last few years, like, there are a bunch of like little things that amounted to, like, added up to a huge, like, life shift for me and my family. So I think that's all I need to say. I'm
Yeah,
complete
that's
with that.
another great point. I think there's some people that have like they're big dreamers, but they don't do the little things to ever get there, And then there's some other people that are doing little things, but they're not dreaming of anything big, so nothing's really happening. You know what I mean? So it's like it's the combination of the two together that really makes it happen, right? It's like first it's like, okay, where do you want to go if things possible? What do you want to create? What's your vision? Where are you called to go? And then what's the little thing you're doing? Like, did you call the guy to get the septic tank fixed? It's not like, you know, sexy stuff necessarily, but it's the stuff that like, it's the next thing to get to the next level, to get to the next thing. And I think that's the stuff that, gets overlooked is just doing the simple things. I think it's Lao Tzu that said, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, right? So it's like the
Mhm.
little step, and then you're making big things happen over time. All right, well, let's see. let's go to you, James. James has been making really big transformation. He's really focused on the inner work. And I would say on the kind of, if you look at, we kind of break it down to internal and external. So I'd say he's focused on the spiritual, the mental, and the emotional, and just, making transformations in that realm. And I think what you share in the group, kind of in the questions that you're asking, inspires everybody in the group to to look at those levels, in a deeper way. So I just wanted to acknowledge like one of the things I noticed that you're bringing to the group. And yeah, what's the experience been like for you?
And I thanks, Brian.
Yeah.
The experience for me, I'd have to say is intentions. I was definitely somebody who would have things I need to do, and I procrastinate them quite a bit. And it's kind of unattractive to my wife too, from what I'm coming to find out. And also, yeah, so since starting doing this, just I've just been laying out little intentions and definitely completing them as they do happen. And whenever it comes to punishment, I would have to say I almost punish myself in a sense because I get on myself if I don't actually complete something. And I do come into a thing like, oh shit, man, I didn't complete this. And so, but yeah, but it has definitely gotten a lot better through that, and yeah, just been getting a lot of things done, and I've been finding myself completing things a lot more and a lot less procrastination nowadays, just on just any other little thing that is an intent that is not an intention put into the group here. So that's pretty awesome there. Uh, yeah. What else is? Yeah, just yeah, one other thing is also coming into a group and into this group and not knowing anybody. Definitely face some fears in that area. And being able to just speak out and talk in front of a lot of folks, that's also assisted me too, and being able to do that. And just own the feelings that I have when they do come up, and definitely doing a lot of breathing stuff because there's like a lot of stuff that was rolling through my mind, starting to shake me, get me all shaky and crazy inside. So I was just like really breathing it because I'm about to have to speak about what I'm going through
Hmm.
in the group about the mastermind and all that. And yeah, and it's also pretty cool to hang around a bunch of guys who's going through a lot of the same stuff I am, and also seeing their journeys and how they're developing and stuff. It's really fun to watch. Um, as yeah, it's yeah, that's
Thanks,
uh
James.
that's where I'm at.
Great job. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Gio. Gio is the youngest member of our current season, and he's been with us for one season. So, what do you got to say, Gio?
Yeah. Um,
Uh-oh, we might not be able to hear you.
Hello.
Yeah. Just your sound might not be good. Go try again.
Can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So I didn't drive into reception was that good. Um, but anyways, yeah, there's a lot of different things I like about Mastermind. Of course, a lot of other people said like the accountability. I think accountability is like really important, and it's something I had to realize kind of the hard way. Is like there's this quote, and it's like um, your life is kind of like the culmination of like your five closest friends, or like the five closest people to you. And I think it's just a testament to how important um, having people that can give you that energy to so you can be like where they're at, and also they can help you be where you want to be. That's something that's really important, I think. And a lot of people, especially men, I think, have this idea that like, oh, I can be a lone wolf and I can do things on my own. I don't need anybody else. But I really think that men actually need uh, they need a brotherhood. They need community. They need people who are motivating them, people who are pushing them, people who are holding them accountable, and they need that like energy from other people that are also striving to achieve their goals. I think that's a really important thing. And another thing that I liked about it too, which actually kind of surprised me, is going into it, I was like, oh yeah, like a lot of these, a lot of the guys in here are like older than me. And like it would be nice, like, maybe there would be somebody like my age here too. But I've actually realized, like, I actually like the fact that a lot of the guys also there's just like a more mature energy in there, and it was actually like inspirational because a lot of guys in there are at a place where I want to be. Have like families, they're married, they financially stable and so forth. Like that's goals I have, and that also is like rubbing off of me too. Um, and also too, it's very inspirational. Like I think Jacob's story, for example, is very inspirational. There's just a lot of guys in there, had transformations that I think it's just a very inspirational thing, and it rubs off on you. And the other thing I want to say is the vulnerability. So I think one thing also, um, that men struggle with in general is being vulnerable. Um, and I think, one of the things I think of is like when it comes to, 'cause, I'm in school right now to be like a therapist, and I think men are wired a little bit differently in terms of when it comes to like overcoming challenges and so forth. I think that therapy can be useful to men, but I think that when you have like accountability and you have men who are actually like helping you to, like strive to create actionable changes in your life, that can be really powerful and even more effective therapy, I think. And that's just something that I noticed that was in the group where, there's that, but then there's also this other level where a lot of guys felt that they had the opportunity to like open up and express what they're going through, and they could have that support and get advice where they needed on certain things. And a lot of times that advice was coming from like a place of compassion and also like experience as well. Um, so that was also another thing. That was just something I witnessed that I think was very beautiful. A lot of guys, they would be going through something, even if it was something with relationships, or something with like health or anything like that. Like they could open up about it, and there would be that support. So yeah, I think overall, the mastermind has been a very beneficial thing, not just for me, but also just seeing the guys in the group, seeing them make changes, and um, and I'm somebody who's like very skeptical, so I wouldn't be saying this stuff if I didn't actually like see that stuff firsthand for myself. Like I've actually seen a lot of guys there make really positive changes. So I definitely think it's a very good thing.
Thanks, Gio. Appreciate it. Good, great stuff. All right, Mark, I think you said you had to go and I lost track of time, but let's just touch on we can all do this together. Just touch on Jeff quick and honor his transformation. So I believe just in this season, in the past 4 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, but he's been with us for a few years. He started this great new relationship that is, according to what he shared with me, is what he's been like, wanting in his life for his whole adult life. And he moved to this big, beautiful house in the mountains in East Tennessee. And the amazing thing is being in his group, he laid all this out for us, right, guys? He told us like all the stuff he wanted to do, and he just like accomplished it in a matter of a couple months. And then he's making this transition with his work too, where he was pretty stressed out and overwhelmed in his job and in the process of stepping into his calling, his deeper calling there too. So yeah, anything you want to share that you've noticed with Jeff, Mark, over the past, let's say, whatever, what is it now, 2, 3 years he's been in the group?
Yeah. Well, of course, I've watched him for 40 years. His
You've watched him for
birthday,
40
by the
years.
way, his birthday's coming up in a couple of weeks. He turns 40. So,
All right.
but
We'll have to tease him on that.
yeah, I'm glad for the transformation that he's made over the last few years because, uh, particularly after getting out of the military, um, he was a wanderer, and I'm kind of like I agree with Jacob. The things we go through that are hard, difficult, maybe even you think I've wasted all these years of my life, they can come back around to not only inspire yourself, but inspire a lot of other people. And I remember when Jeffrey had moved back to Ohio and he was applying for a job, the job that he eventually got. He said, Dad, there's like a 3-year period in my life that I just really lived day to day, no real regular job, living on a sailboat offshore, having to dinghy into shore and steal places to take a shower and all that. He goes, what do I put on my resume for that? And I said, don't hide it. It's part of who you are, and talk about it, because you know you, people can they make up stuff, or they put in fillers on their resumes. And I said, no, tell your whole story, because um, when your future boss can say, oh my gosh, this guy was living basically one level above homelessness. He pulled himself up by the bootstraps, went to school, this, that, and the other, and now he's applying for a job at an aviation facility. That's a pretty astounding story. So, yeah, and Brian and all you guys that are his brothers, his band of brothers, grateful for your input in his life, and it's going to be kind of exciting to see where he goes next.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. That's the most fun part of all. We're
Yep.
not done yet. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for
All
that.
right.
Yeah.
Got to run.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. All right, Ryan. Ryan, I would say the biggest transformation I would say that I see with you is in the relationship realm. That was a real struggle for you when you first came in here, and Ryan's in a really beautiful relationship. So congratulations on that now. It's fun in the group because all these things are things that the guys share, and then we get to see it manifest. We get to see the beginning stage of like, oh yeah, I'd like to have this. I'm not sure if I could do it, but and then you just see it manifest over time, step by step. So yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I think the space has been great to explore the different long-term intentions, through the 10 categories there. And yeah, definitely one of mine was relationships. And that's been a really cool thing to experience with you guys, is setting those intentions and then week by week getting closer to them. And then it's nice having them written down, because then you can reflect back on them and see the accomplishments, because sometimes they just happen slowly. You don't really think about them until you look at them in hindsight and realize, where you're at. So yeah, that was cool. That was definitely one of my intentions I wrote down for the relationship category, and it came together there. It came to me, so that was a really neat experience. Yeah, also the accountability in the group, like the other guys have said, has been pretty big for me, and just really thinking every week of what I want to accomplish that week, or things that are worthy, I feel like, to share. And so, it makes me think about it and be more creative. And also the accountability of showing up next week and going over what we accomplished, or even if there's like struggles or something, people, more than happy to give some insight or advice. And yeah, also for me is like the weekly check-ins with intention is a good reflection on time. I think sometimes the days get past you, but to have like a weekly accountability check-in to reflect, this is another week, these are the things that I saw were achievable this week. And I think sometimes those things can just get lost, or, take way too long, or yeah, just get forgotten about. So that, do appreciate that aspect of it. And then through sharing the intentions, it's motivating and inspiring to hear that what the other guys are up to, and the things they're accomplishing in their lives. It's really exciting to hear that, and cool things of like different intentions that I see myself being able to accomplish too. So Some good
Thank you,
inspiration
Ryan.
there.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Jason, anything that you want to share as far as your time in the mastermind group and how it's valuable for you?
Yeah, sure. I mean, for me, it's it's good to see you guys again, and
Yeah,
it's
likewise.
yeah, for sure. And thanks for the invite. Yeah, for me, it's I mean, I don't know. I was in like 3 or 4 years, maybe something like that. But I know it's like for me, I like the touch point each night, each evening, and to have that consistency and that rhythm, and the accountability is in my consciousness. Like what I say I'm going to do for the week keeps me on track. I know for me, like my life and business is very busy, and sometimes it's hard to keep things keep things moving forward in a good way, and without getting distracted and taking clear, focused action. So, yeah, it's really important. I think it's a crucial piece, and to feel the support of the circle, even through Zoom, it's like really that accountability circle is really solid. Just a really solid group of guys. Been in men's circles probably for 20, 22, 24 years of my life and mostly live. So to do it in Zoom is definitely is it works actually. And for me, I stepped out because my life and business got so busy and robust that it's hard to be consistent on a Wednesday evening.
You became too successful.
Yeah, yeah, right. I get, yeah, whatever says success is nowadays. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think I'm just very full. But yeah, I definitely miss you guys and I'm really grateful for the time I had. So thanks for leading it. Um,
Yeah, thanks for being here. What I think one of the things I think that you really brought is when we do the intentions, Jason would always be morning practice, morning
yeah,
practice. That was always the first session, morning practice. And
right.
so then eventually the guys would be like, I'm going to do a morning practice too. And I'm going to do a morning practice too. And it's like, I think we, including myself, and like, and I advocate this in my personal sessions too. It's like morning practice, like
Yeah,
how you start your day is key. Right.
totally.
And I think that's almost like in our culture, the culture of the group now is like everybody's got their morning practice. It's not the same for everybody. It's a little bit different flavor for each person, but everybody's got their morning practice and how they start the day. And yeah, he really helped to like just
Anchor
anchor
that.
that in. Yeah.
I needed it for myself. So
I
I'm
know.
glad
I
it served
know.
the circle. Yeah,
That's a
Something
great example of how that works is like somebody's
yeah,
anchoring in for themselves and then it just, you're benefiting others in the process.
for sure. Yeah, Miracle Mornings. That was
Miracle mornings.
the book that kind of really brought me forth. So yeah, this is still going strong.
Nice.
One of the
something
ways
I,
to keep my sanity.
something I'd like to say. I remember a time when I never thought I would accomplish like much. I never seemed to accomplish anything. Like the feeling of the wheels just spinning. And I see that around me in so many people that are just doing the same thing decade after decade after decade. Same version, same people doing the same thing, eating the same stuff, doing the same things. And I've been thinking about this really recently, all the accomplishments that we make together. It's like nobody's wheels are spinning. Like these wheels have traction. And that's just something really neat that I've noticed in my life. Like I'm not just like Brian said, big dreaming. I've always been a big dreamer, but I'm not just like having these dreams and wondering like how will I ever get there? It's like the wheels got traction and we're taking those little bites, like Avery said.
Yeah, and
Just
the beauty of the mastermind group is for sure there are sometimes when you don't know how to get there. So then you come in and you say, "Hey, I don't know how to get there. What do you guys suggest? What do you guys suggest next?" And then you get different you get different brainstorming ideas, right? And then you can choose what you want or don't want. But you're not alone, in the process of
it's like one
the
man
how
turns
part.
into seven.
Yeah. And there's probably somebody in the group that's, you know, already been where you're at, and they can share their reflection from that space. Anybody have any questions at this moment? Any of our special guests have any questions? Okay, I want to touch on this is where we do the open forum part, where we just kind of um, check in with things that we're trying to figure out or get a handle on or confused about or wanting to learn or challenge difficulty. So something Avery brought up last week, I thought it was a really good question just to dive into for a couple of minutes. And it was sort of like how to deal with the world, right? It's like you have the things that you want. You're trying to be a positive person. You're trying to create something positive in the world. Sometimes it just seems like there's just so much negativity out there around you, and or just so much let's say countervailing wind. You know what I mean? There's a lot of other things happening out there. And so how do we deal with that? Is that kind of the question, Avery? Is that somewhat?
That's kind of the question. And to give a little context, I was on a pretty massive dose of prednisone for like a whole body like allergic reaction, and I always feel like I was like going out of my mind. It's for a little bit of vulnerability there. So I was in a place last week like where I just like had this like negative energy inside of me and was really uh I don't know, it was a good thing in the mastermind that I could bring that up and just like say, hey, this is where I'm at right now. This is what I'm feeling. But like, yeah, that's generally the question is just like kind of how do you deal with that? I mean, you said countervailing winds. I think I probably said BS or something. Just like stupid stuff that like my kids are having to deal with. Like they can't carry like backpacks, probably because like some kid like brought a knife to school a couple years ago. And it's just like kind of like stuff that doesn't make sense that like makes me mad, that just gets me frustrated. And I'm like, how do you deal with it? How do you let this like roll off your back, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so then we just open it up to the space and how have people dealt with similar situations? What's the advice anybody has? What's the wisdom? And I generally have something in my mind, but I like to wait a little bit for the people to share.
Can I say something about
Yeah, go ahead, Gio.
that? Yeah, I always kind of think of some of the people in the group I know. My dad definitely knows, but I'm very into Stoicism, which is like an ancient Greek philosophy. And the main, basically, tenet of Stoicism is focusing on the things that are in your control and not the things that are outside your control. And Marcus Aurelius, in his book Meditations, he actually talks about how a lot of people worry about things that are going on in the world. Like people watch the news and they get all riled up because they're like, oh, this is going on in some foreign country that I have no involvement with. But because I'm watching this, I'm going to get angry and I'm going to, like this is something I have to be mad about. Right. And I see this so commonly in our society where it's like people get really riled up by stuff that they see on the news or just things that like they don't have control over, you know. And it's not to say that you can't have like a passion for these things. Like you shouldn't want to have positive, like have a positive impact on the world, and just be like apathetic or something. But what it is saying is that like you only have so much energy, like mental energy that you have in the day, and you only have so much time in the day. And I think it's much better to put those into things that you actually have control over and um, like just putting your mental energy where you can actually make an impact and starting in your own life, you know, um, but also recognizing that, focusing on all these other things is very draining and it doesn't really change anything, just like dwelling on it and just focusing on these things. And that's something I had to realize, you know, uh, with myself is, like there's a lot of frustration about, oh yeah, like why is this happening in the world? Why is this like this? And you just have to recognize like, hey, these things exist and they're there, and I'm only going to do like what I can do. And even if that's limited in a certain way, I'm still going to do like the best that I can because you can only do so much, um but yeah, that's one of the things that I learned from stoicism that actually really helps me to like not worry so much about like what's going on out there. um and again, like also too, like you can do more in your control than you actually think you can. But one of the first things that is also in your control, which Stoics talk about, is your own thoughts. Like starting with your thoughts, like you have control over your thoughts. You don't have to let this negativity come into your life. There's ways to combat that. And even though there's like things in the external, it's not necessarily that they're there. It's more so like how you react to it that matters. Because you have control over the reaction. You can't have control over the external, but you have control over the reaction and what you do, with that reaction that impacts the external. So yeah, I don't know. That was just something I thought about.
That's definitely a key component. And it makes me think of what I believe now is called what I believe is commonly called the Serenity Prayer. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I think that last part, the wisdom to know the difference, that's key. That can be hard to discern sometimes, but I think that discernment can really make a difference in your life if you can discern the difference between what can I change and what's out of my control to change. So I think, yeah, that's a key component. The thing that I find really valuable that I wanted to share on this topic that's really, and this is something actually, Dan, who's joining us, I think we're going to do a podcast on this topic coming up at some point here. And basically, the general idea, Dan and I are going to talk about spiral dynamics in particular, but the general idea is just that people are at different stages of development. And I think for me, that's so important to realize that. It's kind of obvious when you start to, it's like, okay, well, why am I expecting a 5-year-old to do something a 50-year-old can do, right? That's stupid. Like I'm making myself angry, right? He's 5 years old, right? But then the same thing with people that we may think in our minds, well, they should be able to do this, but should they be able to do it? They should be able to do what they're able to do and not what they're not able to do, right? It's like there's a level of development everyone's at. And sometimes we might be surprised, like we didn't they're at a lower development than we thought, or they're at a higher level of development than we thought. But the understanding that it's this life, the way I look at this life is a school, right? And everybody's moving through these different lessons, so they're kind of moving through these different grades, you know? And I think that way of seeing the world basically gives me a sense of peace, but also a sense of compassion and empathy, especially if I see somebody in a place where like I've been where they were, you know? Um, and then it's also kind of exciting because there's other levels to go. Wherever we are, there's higher levels to go to yet, right? So that framework for the world, I think, is really helpful. But if you just think like, well, everybody should know what I know, you're probably going to be pretty angry and bitter and resentful towards a lot of people.
That view makes it easier to help someone instead of like hate
Yep.
or be frustrated.
Yep.
It shifts that whole thing and makes you available to help.
Yep. Exactly. And that's for people personally, but that's also for even like, institutional type stuff. Now, like Gio said, doesn't necessarily mean you don't try to change something, but it's like it is what it is. It's like there's a certain level of development, and then there's this whatever it is, whatever this thing you're dealing with reflects that level of development, you know? Um, and that's the stage that those people are at this particular moment in time.
And another thing we often talk about is like instead of um, trying to say what you don't want, just focus on a solution, focus on the right thing. So with institutions, like you mentioned, instead of like focusing on all the negativity of whatever these institutions are doing, how about we focus on
What we want to create.
a new way of, right?
Bingo.
Yeah. So that's huge. That's been huge for me.
Yeah. Monica says, "Thank you all for including me. I enjoyed it." That's awesome.
Monica.
Yeah, and that reminded me too of kind of like the victim mentality versus like the sort of creator mentality. Because a lot of people, especially people who have been through a lot, um, there's this thing in psychology. It's called learned helplessness, and it's basically like when you've dealt with a lot of like challenges in your life, you start to think that you have no power. You can't have an effect in things in your life or things in other people's lives. And, I think it really takes a lot of power away from people when they get into that sort of mentality. Because really, I would say every person is capable of much more than they think they are. And it's really just like the right
Amen.
environment, the right people, the right mindset that can allow them to do those things. And when you come from a place of like empowerment and like being the change you want to see in the world, that is really powerful. And unfortunately, like there are a lot of people in the world who are really stuck in the victim mindset, and it just makes not only their life worse, but the people around them have a worse life too. Because if there's a whole group of people who are stuck in that mindset, then no changes are made. Because everyone's just like, oh well, this is the way things are, and it's so be it. So I think that's like a really powerful thing too, is like having that creator mindset and knowing that really anything is possible if you put your mind to it.
And we can be an example and lead the way into the better version of whatever it is.
That's one of the things I've heard in this group a lot is, people have the guys have said, well, I shared this idea and like people were like, yeah, you can do it. And it made me think I could do it. So I just went ahead and did it. And I think that can't be that can be overlooked how big that is because so many of us are used to, whether it's a family we grew up in or the environment we grew up in or the school we grew up in, you know, people telling us we can't do things and people telling us that putting us down essentially, belittling us. And you're in a group here where all you're ever going to hear is like, yeah, you can do it. Might take a while, might be hard, might be difficult, but you can do it. And that's a great environment to be in.
Very great, very real. It seems um I don't know, so many people are locked into what they think is real and what's possible. And man, I just look outside and see the sun. We're spinning around this thing like
I feel like it's taken me a couple years, but just kind of being around Jacob and this group and hearing that feels like growth and change now feels more real than stagnancy. Because like even like using nature as an example, like man, I'm in a place where I've got to cut grass and clear trails like all the time, or else nature is growing. It's moving all the time, and so it's almost like this like stagnant victimhood was an unnatural state. And now
Yeah.
we're like creating something that's real.
I think that's why it doesn't feel good. Like this
mm,
is one of my realizations is like the reason things don't feel good is because they're actually not true. It's like a sensor telling you like, oh, you're engaging in a falsehood, trying to get you to line with the truth. And the further you get into falsehood or different people at different terms out of alignment, whatever term you want to use, then the pain sensor kicks in more and more. But the problem is people will go, oh, I don't want to feel the pain, so I'm going to drink or I'm going to do some drug or I'm going to do this or that to distract myself or I'm going to go party, whatever it is, instead of like paying attention to that sensor that's telling you to realign with the truth. And I think that's totally right. Like if somebody says, I'm depressed, well, why do you feel depressed? That's a sensor telling you that things are stagnant in your life, something needs to get moving that's stuck. And it could be any number of things, but it's something, that's stagnant that needs to move. Um, so yeah, I think that's a great point.
we're here to grow just like the nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there
Yep.
is one way I've been playing with the world. I've been finding it having quite a lot of challenges and stuff. Like it has its own many challenges, like learning challenges that lead into like extreme challenges. And yeah, lately I've been learning to just breathe in these negativities that come up because usually they take me over and just basically wreck me. And now I'm just finding like that when I'm rebreathing in these energies, I know there's a lot of folks out there that are going through the same energy. And every time I breathe this in really deep and then I'm just exhaling, I'm exhaling something that's it feels like I've come to consciousness to this energy. And I'm like bringing to the world whoever is feeling these energies that sense of consciousness within themselves also. And it's yeah, it's been assisting me quite a bit, and it's helping me to work with the world when it does hit me in many different ways. The more I just breathe into this. But yeah, I just also found it a way to give back to the world because I have been giving to myself for so much and for so long that if I'm breathing in all this negativity and stuff that does come up within me, and just know that there's a lot of folks out there feeling that too, and I'm just like, all right, when I just coming to that realization and knowing that just breathing out whatever is positive in this way, and it I don't know. It just feels like it's a new way to give back, and it alleviates a lot of pressure in the world that people may be going through. And so that's how I've been working with the world in a sense, and just taking it as challenges and more like more exciting to take them on instead of kind of a little worried and going through other feelings that I might be having like before. But now it's just like yeah, it's been kind of fun in this fashion.
Nice. Dan says, one of my favorite quotes, it is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. J. Krishnamurti. I know that quote. Yeah, he's good.
Now, one thing I want to say is I think there's a difference between um, comfort fulfillment because I think comfort there's this sort of like fake version of like contentment where it's kind of like this like complacency um, and like deep down like oh this isn't like my fullest potential or like it's kind of like an escape from like the like pushing through that next level where actually that's where like like you like heaven is right um it's like a lot of I think there's a reason why a lot of religions actually look at hardship as like something that leads to growth and it leads to like spiritual growth and all this because um I really don't think that as you said that and Avery said like kind of the way like nature is always changing fluctuating. I don't think we're here to like be stagnant and just stay in one place and um I think like our blood in our body like even inside our cells are like dividing all the time. Our blood's moving, our heart's pumping. Internally, even in our own bodies, there's always movement. And I just think, like we're meant to grow. We're meant to like not be stagnant. And even though it's like painful, um, that pain, first of all, that pain is like temporary, but also that like a lot of people, I've heard this from a lot of people. What really matters is the journey. It's not the destination. The journey is what makes the story. Like what is a hero's arc without like the downfall and like the conflict. And then like there's no resolution if there's no conflict. So I think that's like life is a beautiful thing in that way where that hardship is there, but then there's ways to overcome it. And if everything was just always perfect and just comfortable, life would just be boring. And you wouldn't have that growth that would actually allow you to like learn things and become a better person, stronger person, and have more depth and so forth. So, like I always think about it like going to the gym. It's like, you go to the gym, you do a workout. It's like, it's a little bit painful, but then afterwards you feel like great. You're like, wow, I feel healthier. Like I look a little bit buffer. It's like there's all these like benefits for
You
that
feel
pain.
you
It's
feel
like,
stronger
yeah, exactly. And you start to associate that pain, if you even want to
with
label it pain,
gain.
yeah, with gain, with like, oh, this is like actually making me like this is beneficial pain. And like in a way you almost kind of become like a masochist or something. Like you it's almost like you enjoy it, after a while. But
Yeah. Well, listen, if anybody's listening to this presently or in the future, and they're interested in joining us, you can reach out and we'll have a conversation and see if it's resonant. I'm sort of the gatekeeper, so got to make sure there's good people that are joining. But reach out if you're interested. And yeah, I'm really grateful for this space specifically tonight and for this group in general. And I'm happy for the people that have been our guests to join us tonight. And anything anyone else wants to say before we wrap up?
It's been an amazing journey.
Just glad to be here. That's Jacob's favorite line, by the way, for those who don't know. Jason's
It's
the
kind
morning
of
Jason's
it's kind
morning
of spread through the
practice.
group.
Yeah, Jason's morning practice. Miracle. What is it, Jason? Miracle what?
Mornings.
Miracle
Yeah,
mornings.
morning practice. Yeah.
Jacob's just glad to be here. Everyone else I think is more unpredictable, so I don't have anything for anybody else.
I need to bring it for consistency.
Yeah. All right. Love y'all. Good night.
Love you guys.